Thank you, Richard. So I'm presenting on behalf of my co-authors this afternoon the nearly finished results of a Cochrane systematic review, an upgrade really, looking at nurse and allied health professional interventions in the management of hypertension. So just by way of background briefly, the last review reported 5 years ago, and it thought nurse or pharmacist-led care may improve control of blood pressure and hypertension, but needed further evaluation. That review was becoming unfeasibly large, so it was split into 4. So this review focuses entirely on that question. So our inclusion criteria were interventions comparing hypertension care delivered in usual ways by doctors, we call that usual care, with that delivered by nurses, pharmacists or other allied healthcare professionals. We only studied adults in a primary care or an equivalent primary care setting according to the country of origin. We had predictable primary outcome measures of mean systolic and diastolic blood pressure at the end of the intervention, the proportions reaching study targets and the proportions taking their antihypertensive medication. And we followed standard Cochrane methodology, which I haven't got time to explain to you. So briefly, the results, after deduplication, we had 570 records. We had to review just under 250 full texts, and we've got 98 studies contributing in total to the meta-analysis. I'm just going to give you the headlines. So with nurse-led interventions, there's a drop of nearly 4 millimetres in systolic pressure, gathered from nearly 15,000 participants. But with pharmacist-led interventions, that drop is approximately double. So that's a clearly significant difference between those two professions. Diastolic, I'm not showing, but it's a similar distribution between the two types. Achievement of study blood pressure targets, again, nurse-led interventions achieve the targets more often than usual care, but so do the pharmacists, and again, with apparently superior outcomes. And the other outcome, use of antihypertensive medication, again, nurse-led interventions encourage people to take their medications more often than doctor-led usual care. So do the pharmacists, but interestingly, there is no clear professional difference between those two groups in that particular outcome. So the other thing to say, which I can't present in detail, but I think it's important, all of these outcomes were significantly greater in terms of magnitude or in terms of achievement, where the health professional was allowed to alter or change the prescribed blood pressure medication. So in conclusion, in 5 seconds, nurse and pharmacist-led interventions compared to usual care achieve greater blood pressure lowering, reach study targets more frequently, and facilitate greater use of antihypertensive medication. The pharmacist-led interventions globally seem better than the nurse-led ones, but it looks like permitting nurses and pharmacists to alter or prescribe those medications improves their impact. Thank you for your attention.
Suzanne. Did you have any data on what sort of things might be causing the differences between nurses and pharmacists? What were the pharmacists doing that the nurses weren't?
That's clearly an important question to dissect out. These are clearly complex interventions. They often involve an element of education. They involve an element of following an algorithm. The algorithms can differ. They require measurement of blood pressure. So there might be something intrinsic about differences perhaps in the white coat effect between pharmacists and nurses. We know a bit about nurse white coat effect. We know less about pharmacist white coat effect. So these are all different considerations. And again, there might be some ill-defined component where patients trust their pharmacist on drug issues more than they trust the nurse. I don't know. We'll try and tease it out for the final report.
Was there a head-to-head comparison between nurse and pharmacist?
No, we only included studies comparing the allied health professional to usual care, so we didn't compare nurse and pharmacists in different interventions. In fact, we didn't exclude many studies that would have delivered that information either. So maybe that's a way forward to study those combined interventions separately.